Hello and welcome to my video. So in this video I'll be making a D&D dice mimic box. So if you are not familiar with the D&D world, basically D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, is a role-playing board game, and I've gone into it with my friends recently, and it's a really fun board game, very imagination, like kind of like monsters and dragons and stuff like that, creatures and stuff. So basically, and that's the simple part of it, I haven't even gone into the deep lore or the crazy amounts of detail people go through to make campaigns and design their own games for Dungeons & Dragons. But today I wanted to make a dice box. So a dice box is just a box that I wanted to design to hold my dice while I'm playing the game. And if you didn't know, inside Dungeons & Dragons when you're playing, you have to play with like D20s, and which is 20-sided dice, and like, you know, different types of dice, D12s, 12-sided dice, and different weird dices. And so basically I wanted to make a box to hold them all. And a mimic, which is a creature from, it's actually like a kind of like a monster from D&D. That was a pretty popular monster, so I wanted to make a dice box of the mimic. So what I did was, as you saw, those were my supplies in the beginning. It was just some carving tools, and then I bought a box from Michaels. This box is around $5, so pretty cheap actually. And then I just used some polymer clay, with Super Sculpey polymer clay, and I just sculpted this onto the wood. Initially I didn't really know how I was going to attach it. I just ended up using epoxy glue. It worked out pretty well. Basically what I did was I sculpted it all onto the wood, and I wanted to make it look just like a mimic, like just like the creature. So basically the creature is a chest. It's a disguise of a chest, or like a treasure box. And then when you open it, it's got a bunch of teeth and it'll eat you. That's the creature. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to do teeth on the outside, and like what it looked like. And then I wanted to do like an old treasure chest. So what I ended up doing, as you can see here, was I took the clay, made the treasure chest, and then I took some aluminum foil, crunched it up, and added texture to the metal of the chest. And then in order to attach this onto the wood, like I said, I used epoxy glue, but when I wanted to take the polymer clay off the wood, I needed to not bend it because I needed to reattach it after the polymer clay was baked. Unfortunately, I couldn't put the entire sculpture into the oven because the wood, I didn't know how it would react inside the oven. I thought it would probably get burned, probably get destroyed somehow, so I didn't want to take that risk. I ended up just morphing the clay just slightly, and it wasn't too bad when I took the polymer clay off. As you can see here, I'm just sculpting it onto the box, and then I had to use the pen tool to take it off, put it onto a foil rack, and then put it inside the oven. And baking the polymer clay had been risky in the past, as I had made other videos in the past about my animal keychains and my pool ball keychains I made with the same polymer clay. It did bubble up in some areas and could get ruined. This one luckily did not get ruined at all, so I was really happy with the way that it baked inside the oven. It was great. Also, I did make some modifications to the wooden box. I carved off some of the wood so then the polymer clay fit better, and then when I glued the polymer clay onto the wood, like I said, I did have some morphing of the polymer clay, so the teeth were not flush with the box, which I'd actually, looking back on it, don't mind that this is the case now. It looked a little off because it got morphed. The clay just bent a little bit inside the oven, and when it was on the tray, and so this is what I got. The teeth were a little bit off from the box, so I added some extra clay to it, and then I glued it all on, and this is what it looked like. And so it's just this is the very base. I initially wanted to buy a can of spray paint to spray paint the box, but I'm lazy, if I'm admitting it, and I didn't actually end up buying the spray paint to spray paint the box. I just went right in with a base coat of acrylic paint just wherever I wanted to paint, and then I did a dry brushing technique, which is where my brush has barely any paint on it, and then you just brush over the layer of paint you just did, and that added a lot of detail and brought out the texture that I used with the aluminum foil on the polymer clay. Now, the texture from the polymer clay from the wood was a little bit different, so I wanted to change up the colors and color match them together to make them look similar, like it was part of the wood. It was hard to figure out the color scheme for this. I ended up just trying out some colors, and then when I dry brushed the paint onto it, when I finally got the right color I wanted, the dry brush really brought the piece together. And then I did break out the Posca pens because Posca pens will go with polymer clay sometimes, but for this project it was a very matte finish when I used the Posca pens, and so I used the Posca pens on the polymer clay for the gums of the monster of the Mimic. And then I used black acrylic paint for the inside of the box. And then, like I said, this is going to be a dice box. It's going to be for all my dice. So I used felt, which is a very soft fabric, pretty cheap too. And I just put that and lined it inside of the box, so then my dice could fit in there nicely. And then this was the final result. And I did paint the teeth a little bit to make them shaded. It looked pretty cool. And so this was the final result with all my dice inside the box. And I'm sure I will be getting more dice and hopefully in the future be making some dice with some epoxy resin in the future. So that'll be cool. Stay tuned for that. Hopefully I'll get that done soon. And this is the final result of the Mimic. And I'm really happy with the way it came out. Hopefully this helped you make your own if you want to make yours, inspired you. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.